Swim with the sharks, ride against the tide, and run the extra mile. Transitions are transitory, so just hop in your next race leg full force and stay on the move. This is your host, Sarah Tway, an aspiring hybrid athlete. And together today we'll explore the world of triathlons. This episode definitely does hold a special place in my heart. Triathlons is a journey like no other. It's a humbling experience and it teaches you a lot. So maybe a bit about myself and my personal journey. It actually all started back at college. I've been very active since I was a kid. Parents were very keen on making sure that we're a part of any sport really that we find interesting. But then, a college phase is a bit difficult because you're actually exploring yourself. I personally wasn't very much secure about my body, and that's when I started really hitting the gym. I explored all sorts of training plans, but it wasn't quite satisfactory. It just helps tone my body at some point, but it didn't really give me this good feeling of this confidence that you get in your own skin. But yeah, it was super monotonous at some point. All I did was push, pull legs, and then rotate. A bit of supplements and, taking care of my diet. But then again, that confidence didn't really hit. The pandemic was a tough phase. Living up in your head was definitely a difficult one. And again, education was moved remotely. And there was a bit of spare time to explore new things. I already had my own bike, and then I bought 2 more. So here's a small startup for a college student. I would rent out these bikes on a daily basis so students would meet their needs, and I would take my favorite bike, it was a Bianchi, out for running errands, short rides, just to clear my mind. There were sometimes questions where you hit walls and you don't know where to go, so you would need to take that out for a walk, for a run, maybe bike sometimes, and if possible, swim. So, so the pandemic was there, and again, the routine was whenever we're stuck, we take the bike, we go out for a run, or we swim. And that's where I explored this whole new world of triathlons for me. It was not really much in my routine to do a bit of endurance, so it was always weightlifting all the way, and it was painful. You're always tired. There's this sort of fatigue. I didn't feel like I was recovering well. I suffered from all sorts of injuries because most probably somehow the technique went wrong. But then when I incorporated a bit of endurance, there was so much perks that came along. And I enjoyed it. Definitely I knew how to bike. Swimming was there since we were kids. And then the run is just the run. To be quite frank, I do not really enjoy the run, but you kind of suck it up and do it anyway. The idea of having to do that unbroken, so let's say for instance 200, 300 meter swim unbroken for me was a bit daunting. And it was exhausting at the beginning because I would just get bored having to swim 400, 500 meters and I'd be out of the pool. But then the rides, I kind of managed to pull really long rides. I get lost in thoughts and really good scenery. Cyprus was known for its beautiful scenery and change of seasons, and it was just gorgeous. You'd stop, pick up. They had a lot of farms. You'd pick up strawberries, you'd pick up oranges, whatever's on the way. You'd meet new people. And different cultures. So the bike was there just as a sort of transportation to meet new people and cultures. And that's what I really enjoyed the most. So maybe I wouldn't really want to burn it too fast, but that's what I've really felt in my 70.3 experience that I will delve into in a bit. But yeah, so the swim was there, but it's just the long distance that I couldn't really bear. I didn't really have proper training sessions or plans put together. It's just that, okay, let's try to swim today longer and try to swim not really, really fast, but, keep a good pace. Back then I really didn't know what a pace is. But yeah, it was there in the dictionary. It existed, but I wouldn't really know. And the run is just a run. I hope just not to die and maybe hurt myself. And yeah, I felt always, my knees would kill me. Something or the other would ache. So the run, it was just, let's get this dusted. But yeah, I found that very interesting, and I was a junior in college then, and moving to my senior year, I decided maybe perhaps if there is something that I could do as a gift or reward for graduating. So just a quick Google search, and I found the Triathlon Federation in Cyprus. It does exist, and I was very much happy to see that they've got a schedule already for the next academic year. But the one that I really put hands on, I thought maybe that would be a good start, and is aquathlon. So for those who don't know, aquathlon is a run, swim, run. So it's just running and swimming, no biking. And I thought I had to sell the bike anyway, that I'm wrapping up the semester and had to leave. But swim, run, swim, it looks like we don't need much equipment. It's just shoes and maybe a tri-suit and some gels, and you're good to go. And yeah, they had a duathlon. So duathlon is a bike run, and they had some triathlon schedule. But the one that fit perfectly well was aquathlon. It was I still remember the date. I think it was the 7th of August, 2022. Signed up, looked at the participants. I didn't know what age group is. There is teams. There is just females, males. We just sign up. Super excited. Couldn't really sleep. Early start, and there we go. 2.5 kilometers in, we run that, and then back to the waters, 1,500 meters swim, and then back up running at 2.5. And I kid you not, I've never really done 1,500 meter swim. The morning of the race, I wouldn't even call it a race because I wasn't really racing. I was just hoping I'd survive. Seeing the buoys out there at the horizon, like they're kissing literally the horizon, like they're so far. And just the idea of having to go all the way and back was, was like, okay, I think I might just withdraw. Like, there is no way. But I don't know, something about the energy of the place, the environment, the people, and seeing people from different ages, different colors, different ethnicities, backgrounds, people literally encouraging you to do all you could. Well, out we go. 2.5 it is, but then realized it's a rolling course. Even for the run, I had no idea something known as elevation gain in courses. Really never took that into perspective. But it was tough. I was already panting and dying. The swim was a bit of a relief. I did that 1,500 meter, got a bit lost, couldn't really sight, couldn't really see, but managed to make it to the shore with some aided kayaks, and then off to that 2.5. I think by the time I'm out of the water, everyone was done with the race. It was just humbling, a bit embarrassing, but super humbling. And there we go. Everyone's just chilling in the corner, having snacks, and I was still finishing my 2.5. Crossing that finish line was a lot of mixed feelings. It wasn't really just a relief, but you're like, oh, I did it. I'm capable of so much. Definitely got first in descending order, but it was very memorable. And that's when, those medals are not just a piece of metal, they're stories that you get to tell people whenever you go, and tell them, well, this is my very first, and this is a very special one because this happened or that happened. But ever since, I got hooked. Endurance is something that you have to stay super consistent with. Just making sure you dust your training. It just fitting it into your schedule gives you so much discipline. And that's what I felt. That's the reason I did vibe with that sort of training, because if you don't get your training hours done, then you feel a bit upset about that. And again, it's just that discipline and commitment it requires. So wrapping up my undergrad, back I am, and it's just that back with a mindset of really wanting to thrive and doing more of that. I already knew about Jude the Tribe, and I was in touch with the founder, Jude Jim already, and been, telling her, well, I would want to do that, and I would just, ghost her for like a few months because I'd be this chicken that wouldn't really want to do it. And then comes this exciting opportunity out in Neom. For those who don't know Neom, we do have the beach games here held, and it would be the last resort for the Super League. And it was taking place for the very first time here in Saudi. It looked like an exciting opportunity, and signing up, and I'll get a call. I would need your information, details. And part of the details were like, what's your 100-meter pace, swim pace? And I'll be like, I guess. And then what would be your kilometer run pace? I'd be like, I guess. I wasn't really quite sure of my numbers yet. I felt still this newbie in the sport, but again, just approximating numbers and giving them away, like what are the chances, what are the odds? I get a phone call. Well, we are inviting you to go to Neom to experience this as the starter of tomorrow. And it was definitely a life-changing experience. I thought that triathlons would be something I would do on the side, but never really consider it as a main sport. We'd meet there in Neom. We met Olympians, I'd say, and really champions of that sport. And having to get to know them in person, get to ask them personal questions of how is it like being a pro athlete and triathlete, and getting those really humbling answers. It gives you that feel that, well, it's doable if you just stick to a plan and keep doing it over and over and over again. And I came back with so much experience and so much in mind that I felt like I should. So circling back to signing up for that triathlon that I've been checking out from, I finally get the courage to text back Jude and tell, well, I'll sign up for the first triathlon, and that would be the 24th of December 2022. Super nervous, despite already been part of an aquathlon. Triathlons are like no ever, because there's so much logistics to sort out. I had in mind that there was a bike to sort out, a few more things, what to wear, how to do this, nutrition. So these elements that I had to take into consideration in a very short period of time was a bit petrifying, I'd say. But I think the element of the expenses come in perspective. Triathlons, no doubt, is an expensive sport. And for us in this Hybrid Zone podcast, we'd love to touch on budgeting for such sports, even if you're much interested and on a very low budget. So, now going through that training, going through that manual that's been put on the website after I've registered, the do's and don'ts, what to bring, mandates. Okay, helmet, check. He bought an entry-level bike, check. Well, there's some sort of cleats and clipping. I'm like, never mind, we'll just do shoes, gels, bib belt. I'm like, okay, there's a lot of things to figure out. So, but there's always alternatives, and there's always, you seek out for help and hope people to respond. But this was beyond just responding. This was support. The community is just, it's beautiful. The tribe genuinely is a tribe. It would give you all you need. They would support you all the way. They are very welcoming, and being a newbie in something is definitely when you need support the most. You want to feel welcomed, you want to feel encouraged, you want to feel some sort of belonging, and I found it all at once. It's just that having to go through that manual or let's say athlete's guide, what to do and what not to do, and need that translation, and the patience that the team had was beyond beautiful, really. So got my questions answered, the morning of the race, we're good to go. You put your things in transition, and all I have in mind is just I don't want to die. My tires are good to go, and they're much and well aired, and yeah, let's get this done. The swim is all right. The swim is always all right. Like a 750 for me was yeah, it was just having fun. Like let's just swim. But the bike was new of its kind. It's just the idea of having to do 20 kilometers, and you really don't know when you finish. Like I haven't had a computer then, and I wouldn't really know what's going on. So am I just cycling, and you'd feel you start to feel this lactic acid buildup. Obviously, I'm not on a good nutrition plan. This is my very first time, and you feel sort of slow, right? Comparing yourself to other triathletes, but at the same time, there were a few on that course that were cheering you on. You got the power, and you are go, and it built that. It built the same mindset growing into the sport, that you're encouraged, but you do encourage others as well. And you make them feel welcomed, even if they're trying this for the very first time. Crossing that finish line after that 5 kilometer run, obviously lots of stitches, cramps everywhere, but it fades away. And the celebration is another feeling. But after that experience, I felt it was a wholesome experience that you can't really find words. But you feel it to the core. You feel those goosebumps, and you feel like, oh, that's definitely my sport. And that was just from a racer's perspective. Fast forward, and now I'm part of the team. The tribe is I found a place there. The tribe is always in my heart, because they've welcomed me with open arms. I really wanted to get this from all different perspectives, the racers and the organizers. And it takes so much work for you as a racer, from an organizer, to put this race together for you, in terms of safety, in terms of making sure that you're satisfied, everything's fulfilled, the energy's there, the course. It's just, yeah. So if we're looking at it, I would look at an iceberg and a glacier, really, and it takes so much work to make sure that the race is well organized and well executed. But I think that really encouraged me to sign up for my first half Ironman. I don't think I was ready. Comparing my ChatGPT put together a training plan with others, but I thought it was adequate enough to help me pull it off, at least with no injuries. But it took some good time to sign up for a half Ironman. The distances, having to swim 2,000 meters and then go out for a 90-kilometer bike ride and then back for a half marathon. Yeah, it's just the idea itself. Like I'd be, you put like a distance approximation, like, oh, I'm going to this whole new city on foot or on a bike, and you don't really break it down. You just you make it sound more challenging. But that's when I really want to tap into constantly having to change your training plans. I wasn't just interested in triathlons. I was still interested in CrossFit as well. Interested in rowing, interested in a few more sports. I do enjoy a variety of sports, and I can't really help sticking to one. I can't see myself doing triathlons for the rest of my life. And that's when I started developing this I don't fit a mentality. I go to the triathlons world and I don't really fit. I don't feel like I'm a triathlete because I can't really endure long distances. I end up in short of breath, let's say. But then I would go to the CrossFit world or the weightlifting world, and well, I see the numbers that they're lifting, and I'm like doing half of that. So I would be like an intermediate athlete in both. And I was constantly trying to find my people. I'm like, who on earth here does a bit of that and a bit of this? Strength is as important as an endurance, and vice versa. And that's when I've met a few hybrid athletes that we're really doing this on a proper training plan. So let's say if you've got a week of 7 days, they would have a rest day, or like they would have active recovery. That's when they do a bit of endurance, but very slow. And then they would have 3 strength sessions a week, if they needed or required a bit more than 4, and endurance almost on daily basis, depending on how tough that strength session was. So we don't really compromise on muscle gain, and we make sure that we stay lean as much as we can. And I thought, well, that seems to me the best way of working out, really, because you're maintaining a good muscle mass as well as making sure you're lean and endure as much as possible. So that's a good heart health. CrossFit, on the other hand, or let's say any sort of strength and functional training, was constantly having to grow muscle, but that's not very functional. So like I've ran alongside lots of primarily weightlifters, and they would cramp super fast. Or let's say CrossFitters, and they're already injured because it's a high injury sport. There's nothing you can do about it if technique is not got right. And what I would really want to highlight is the importance of gymnastics, flexibility all the way. So I normally, I ignored, flexibility and having to do lots of mobility. I thought that was quite unnecessary and boring. Like for me, I can't really sit a session of yoga. It's too much mental work from my point of view. But I think as I grew deeper in the sport, I realized the importance of mobility and how our bodies really do require that to make sure that your muscles are well recovered and healthy as possible. So combining all that with so I've started having my own community. So I do have my CrossFit family, my triathlon family, my rowing family, weightlifters in the gym. So, and I started collecting mental data. So it's just all up in my head. And I'm, curious about people that tend to combine all these sports together and how do they feel? And then you would cross paths with the same people. So people who would do a bit of weightlifting, you'd meet them in the gym, but then you would sign up for triathlons together. People who do just running, you'd meet them in the gym, but then you sign up for marathons together. So there is constantly this intersection that I was quite curious about. And I realized this lack or gap that we've got here in our GCC world, that strength needs endurance, and endurance needs strength for an ideal, long-lasting, healthy life. So I would sign up for triathlons, and then again, don't really feel like I'm fit. I would go to CrossFit challenges, and people would be like, oh, she's tiny, I don't think she'd manage. But you meet the hybrid people, and you're like best friends. But yeah, so back to the half Ironman experience. Signing up for the first one is a very special one. And a shout out to all the support that I've received, and people have supported me all the way. Mel, you're amazing. Thank you for taking good care of me out there, helping me figure out my nutrition last minute, helping me with that bike, and really everything else. Jude and the Tribe team, y'all are amazing. It's your support and the constant encouragement that I've received. Otherwise, I wouldn't have really signed up. This was like a very far-fetched dream, but it was, your constant support made it close as the days passed. So we signed up for the half Ironman and Muscat. That was the closest, and it seemed like something I could do in the GCC region. But it's not just signing up. There are lots of factors that were taken into consideration. budgeting for it, for instance. Okay, and then planning on, from A to Z, the training prior to that, the budgeting, nutrition, how's that going to come along? So I would love to tap into all these very briefly, and maybe in the next episode we could delve deeper in budgeting. But as I mentioned, triathlons is definitely an expensive sport, and for someone like me who hops from one sport to the other and not really sticking with one, like I'm not chasing numbers as much as I'm just chasing the adrenaline high. But it's just that, okay, with the GCC region, it's very much systematic. All you need to do is book a flight if you're GCC based, and then you have to figure out your visa if required, and then you book hotel. You again make sure that you've paid your ticket fees in advance, and if I definitely not recommend it, but personally for me it worked very well. It would be renting a bike and not really having to worry about that hassle. And oh my god, having an entry-level bike definitely wouldn't really do you well in a half Ironman race. It would be a burden having to ship it, and having to worry about those expenses. Having to put it together in a box, so an Allen box if required, or requesting a bike shop to ship it for you. So ideally for me, the best answer was to rent a bike, and then arrive a few days in advance, give it a shot, go out on very short rides, and once you're comfortable, you're comfortable. But I think because I am quite handy, so with handling and technicality, the bike was not really a problem. So I'd hop on any bike and maybe just a few sessions in, and I'd be good with the bike. So the bike was a road bike, not a TT bike. For those who are a bit curious about TTs, they're just they're a bit technical compared to your road bikes. So I think if it's your first half Ironman experience, then definitely a road bike would do you good. And there we go, Muscat. Great weather, great vibes. And honestly speaking, it's like no other. You meet people from all over the world coming here to just have fun, really. Others definitely want a podium, and all they have is race mode, race mode on. But on the other hand, you would sit. So prior to your race, you've got the pasta party, you've got the athletes briefing. So that takes place, and I still remember panicking because of the amount of bags that I got in the check-in. So I received a red bag, a blue bag, and a white bag. And you go through the guide, you read it multiple times, but it feels like you're doing this for the very first time, and you really don't know. Like it's not proper English. Like, where does this go? But again, a shout out to Mel for helping me out. But you put your whatever you need for that really long journey in these bags and hang them up with your bib numbers. You make sure that you don't really forget anything. And because of how excited you are, you barely sleep the night before. Barely slept, really. A few hours in, and off we go. It's just figuring out nutrition as well. So I think a lot of people don't really talk about is how am I going to make sure that I space out my bathroom breaks evenly before hopping into the race. It's best recommended if you don't really use the bathrooms along the race, and perhaps make sure that it's planned prior. So, coffee number 1, we're in. Bathroom break done. But in nutrition, got good breakfast in, and another cup of coffee, and we're good to go on a light, empty, let's say, a colon, and we're good to go, right? That start was one of the most nerve-wracking experiences in my life. My heart rate was up in the roof already, and it was not really. There was a bit of a run to the start, so running to that, I think around maybe 100 meters, 150. People say it was 200, not really quite sure. And you hop in those waters, and you literally, everyone's around you. Navigation is super tough because if it feels like it's some sort of war in the water, hands everywhere, legs everywhere. So you're navigating for the first buoy out there, looking for something yellow, and the swim is just chaotic because it slowly spaces out. But if you're like in the middle pack where your pace is average like me, you're with everyone else. So you're not super fast, you're not super slow. You're with the middle pack, and it's always it's a crowd. And like an Ironman, a half Ironman experience is around 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 races. So you can imagine. Yep, first buoy in, second in, and then slowly things start to, so my mind clears. I start getting that rhythm. So I'm like, Yara, this is a 2,000 meter swim, it's not a sprint. My heart rate regulates, everything goes in smooth. So the first 1,000 was a bit, rough, but then swimming back was a bit seamless and smooth. And I was caught on that swim, so it was a great footage that I have, and I always thank God that it's only the swim because the rest was horrendous. And then into your transition tent, there's a lot of drama going on. People asking for gels. Have you seen my socks? I can't find my helmet. Oh God, my helmet is broken. A lot of things going on inside that transition tent. So all you have to do is take all the time you need. This is a 90-kilometer bike course that you have to have your shoes clipped well, your socks, make sure that you've got your helmet in, and your nutrition. So it's always good to be fueled on that bike course. There are different the aid stations that would provide you with the fuel, or let's say the nutrition that you need. But in terms of nutrition on the bike, it's always good to be self-sustained. That 90-kilometer bike course, it was gorgeous. Seeing the city of Muscat for the first time, or any other city really. I mean, let's talk in general, but because I'm just using my first experience as reference, it's just you get lost in scenery that you really don't look at your computer. You're like, oh, I'm 45 kilometers in already. That's beautiful. But when you're training outdoors and back home, you're doing the same ride over and over again, and that's when it gets a bit boring. But the scenery is beautiful. It was sometimes a bit difficult to navigate where to go, but volunteers are always out there, and that's what I really love about that. Being an organizer, not just a racer, you put yourself in their shoes. As a volunteer, you know how much hard work they put to make sure that you're safe and sound, to make sure that they direct you correctly, and they don't just show up on the race day. There's so much happening behind the scenes and days and weeks beforehand to make sure that this is as seamless as it looks. 45 kilometers in, and I enjoyed it. It was a rolling course, and I was petrified because every time everyone says rolling, it shouldn't be your first experience, so you should do a flat course. For me, rolling was beautiful, up, down the hills on very high speeds. It was challenging, no lie, but it was fun. And the final stretch was not something that I've enjoyed because it was flat. That's what I've realized. So it's just that your own experience is a unique experience, and it's not for everyone else. If someone says first means flat, tell them, well, I want to try rolling. Maybe rolling is for you. You've done rolling before for fun. So the final stretch was flat course, and I got bored. Undoubtedly, slowly started to cramp. I got a bit of a stitch there, and that's when you start slowing down. So I think what's very important here is to listen to your body regardless. If you don't feel it, then stop, take a break, that's fine, on the side of the road, and just watch out. So something that Mel told me is to keep watching out to what's ahead of you, especially with aid stations. There's a lot of things going on. There are bottles, there are, you name it. Like, it's just a mad jungle in the aid station. So you keep out and always maintain the side where that aid station is not very crowded with. And then you pray God and keep your fingers crossed that you don't really get a flat tire or crash into someone. A friend of mine did, I think, was it, dislocating his shoulder there. So things happen on that course. Just keep an eye out and make sure that you're avoiding as much obstacles as you can. Just ride safe, that's all we're saying. And once you get the hang of it, that's when you want to speed up, that's fine by us. But all I'm saying from an organizer's perspective, the course is as safe as it gets. We try our level best to make sure that this is a safe course. As a racer, you take responsibility that you're not racing alone, right? And being selfish in terms of doing things that might cause hurdles for others is definitely, we do penalize, but at the same time, keep that in mind. There is this etiquette that you have to maintain it as a racer. That's something that you present. You present not just yourself, and internationally you represent your country as well. So that's very important to keep in mind. So that's what I really learned from an organizer and a racer perspective in the bike course. So I think it was just so much to learn on that course, it being the first. And keep in mind, sometimes we train indoors all the time. So on the trainer, you spend time, but outdoors, it's very different. And in a race, it's super different. So your first experience, just keep an eye, watch out obstacles here and there, and keep it slow, keep it steady if you have to. Listen to your body if you need to stop. That was something that I took away from that bike course. But I was glad. It was done, safe and sound, no flat tires. I mean, the gears were making funny sounds. Remember, that was a rental. But I was like, take it easy. Just do what you have to do. If it does not really affect you so much, then just keep pedaling, really. And yep, off that 90 kilometer. So let's just, from a newbie perspective, I haven't done much bricks. So for those who don't know what a brick is, you run bike, or let's say two things done at once. And I have only done 2 to 3 brick sessions, and they were very short distances, like a 10, 2.5 or even less. So off that 90 kilometer bike course, my legs are cooked. I can't feel anything really, nothing at all. And I spent like around 6 minutes in that transition tent, chit-chatting with people, trying to get, loosen up a bit. All I needed was a foam roller, really, and a bed, but I remembered the run. So, not big fan of that run, not big fan of running. I just do it because I have to. But, put on those shoes, socks, visor, glasses, bib belts in front, and gel, and off we go. All right, 3 loops in a park. And it's getting steamy hot. I mean, pro athletes and normal athletes, not people like me, were already done with the runs. And I was like, what is the cutoff time? Cutoff time was 8 hours, 30 minutes, and I had adequate time to spare on that run. I told myself I'll enjoy this as much as I can. I'm very happy with my swim. It was something that I had in mind. I targeted and I achieved it. The bike, safe, nothing very, crazy. And now off we run. Like, what could go wrong? It says literally in the guide, you could run, you could walk, or you could crawl to the finish line. So if it's crawling it is. First loop was fine. I could see lots of people. It was encouraging because everyone's at really good paces. So you're like, okay, let's shoot, let's run. Second loop in, and I mean, from an organizer's perspective, you acquaint with lots of volunteers spontaneously, because you know what they're going through, right? So if you stop at an aid station, the thing is about me is I'm a bit of a social butterfly. So I would stop literally at every aid station, chit chat with them. Thank you so much for doing this. I know you put a lot of hard work. And some of the volunteers would actually run from one aid station to the other with me. So that was quite an experience. And the funny part is that you're constantly hoping to anticipate something new in the next aid station. Like, what are you going to serve? Is it oranges? Is it cola? Is it electrolytes? Is it apples? No, they didn't really have apples. But yeah, fruits, bananas, what? Give me more. And it was fun. Like, I still remember my very, very favorite aid station was in the heart of the park. So it was like super shady. There was a good breeze, and they had an ambulance with like all the kits that you need. So my legs were cramping all the time, and it felt rigid, right? And I would need it to be sprayed all the time. So that was my favorite aid station. Spend 2 to 3, 4, 5 minutes there, just getting a good massage and getting it sprayed, and off I go. So the run was a spectacular part of the race because I connected it with literally everyone. And on my third loop, I didn't want to end it. I felt like, no, I could do another loop, but I've connected with everyone really, and I felt the essence of doing an Ironman or like a half Ironman. It felt there's so much feelings. I mean, I still really can't find a good word to describe it, but there's so much you're feeling. There's so much joy. There's pain, but it's just the joy tends to surpass the pain every single time. And there's this good adrenaline. The weather's, doing its thing, and you feel accomplished. Like I've just finished that amount biking and swimming, so I might just finish the run. And you wouldn't want to cross that finish line. You just want to keep going and over again. But the last loop of that one, I was of the very few that were left doing that run. We would constantly have to encourage one another to make sure that we're done before cutoff time. But yeah, 7 hours and excuse me, and 37 minutes in, and I crossed the finish line. And I wasn't there really alone. I still remember Mel. So Mel, for the record, was done like an hour and a half or like an hour and a half before me. And she was waiting on that finish line. And the feelings, I think, it was just so much joy, and gratification, and this confidence, that boost that you get at the end. Yeah. Gosh, this is making me emotional. But that experience, your first ever half Ironman, is something that everyone should feel at least once in their lifetime. It gives you so much, and it's such a humbling experience having to meet people of literally all walks of life. People that are like double your age or even younger, or regardless of the circumstances. And soon after I was done with that, I watched lots of documentaries, and having to see people amputated or handicapped, and doing that is an indication of the human power. If you challenge yourself, put your mind to it, you'll get it done regardless of the state you're in. I wasn't really there to make sure that I finish in a proper score, an exact score. And that's what your first experience is about, is to enjoy every moment and actually absorb the essence of an Ironman or a half Ironman. And when you do, you realize that you want to come back for more. So I still remember Jude, the other one, the tribe, telling me, you're definitely going to be in so much pain, but the minute you cross that finish line, you'd want to sign up for the next one. No regrets. And well, it couldn't be more true. There was so much I want to do in terms of triathlons, and keep doing that over and over again, and want to do an Ironman, and it's just it's a very different realm, like compared to any other sport. You put that's definitely one world, and everything else is another world. But yeah, post race, if you want to really get to that, so much pain. You couldn't walk. Couldn't really get out of bed. If it wasn't really for Mel and the need of a swim recovery, I wouldn't have got out of bed. It was very tough having to fly back. And I think of the people that would go for a weekend, race, and come back for a normal working day. So most of the people that I met were normal people with a daily job from 9 to 5. Having to do that and go back to your work the next morning at 9, and having to work like a normal human being, just so much hats off to them, really. I felt like I would need a week of just recovery, not feeling my legs, but yeah, I still remember having to wear that medal, Mel telling me not to take it off. This is your pride, and you keep wearing it. And that was the half Ironman. And ever since, I felt like I'm undefeatable in not just that perspective of finishing things, but mentally you feel so much stronger, you feel so much confident that if you put your mind to it, you could do it. Regardless of it be sports, it be challenges in life, it be the triumphs that you've achieved, it be all really. My perspective shifted since that half Ironman. And I kid you not, I started off virtually through the Conqueror. So that's where you get challenges online and you get a medal shipped to your house. It's a great platform. But that's where I started. And since the half Ironman, I came back and I keep storytelling it to almost everyone I know. So there was so much pride storytelling it to my CrossFit community. And where I see so much growth now is seeing the community of both worlds. So triathlon community here in Saudi wanting to do a bit of weightlifting and strength, and seeing my CrossFit weightlifters and functional training community wanting to do more endurance. So that intersection is where the hybrid training came from, and the idea of sharing it with the world. It's all about us and not I. I haven't really felt it's always team effort, even if it was a solo sport. People dream and they believe, but then I've seen lots of achievements in that. And the celebration of these milestones, it was a celebration. People come there and they perform for a purpose. Some for charity, others for self-achievement, some they would do that for others, but they're there for a reason, and the purpose, once fulfilled, you get back and you have so much to give. But that's that. The Ironman, half Ironman experience. It be from the organizer's perspective or the racer's perspective. The first is always very special, I'll tell you that. And you wouldn't know until you actually try it for yourself. So if you're listening out there and you're planning to do your half Ironman, go for it. Seek consultation from the right people if required. Set up a training plan, and if required, get a coach. I still remember speaking to Mel a few weeks before she was here for a training camp that we held for the kids, and I told her, I don't have a training coach. But I've been consistent and I think I could do it. She's like, listen, there isn't really a rule of thumb. If you think you can, you will. And when you feel you're ready to get a coach, or you do need a coach, then you'll definitely reach out. And she did say that even coaches get coached because they would really need someone to guide them through the process. And that's true. You make... this is your life and this is your path, and if you do think there is the need for something, then you go for it and plan ahead. But half Ironman experience, a marathon, you name it, regardless of what is out there for you, if there is this slight fear, then don't really hesitate to make those jumps. Have that leap of faith, dive head first. And see what it has for you. It takes so much courage, but once it's there and done and dusted, you look back at it and you never regret an ounce. So this has been my story, from virtual to half Ironman. Welcome to the Hybrid Zone, and in the next episode, we'll break down budgeting for your first ever half Ironman. If you think that you're still hesitant about whether triathlons is a sport for you, and if this is something you want to do full time, but still want to attempt those international races. In addition, we'll delve deeper into the high rocks and what is it like doing functional and endurance at once. Definitely, there is a story behind every medal in the hangar. So if you'd like us to shed light on your story, shoot us an email and we'll contact you right away. Well, hope to catch on in a new episode of the Hybrid Zone podcast. See you later.